Hi everyone, welcome back to the Space Koala channel. I am Lutza and I'm back once again with another smart telescope video. This time it is the long-awaited SeeStar S30. I received this today. I will be unboxing it in front of the camera. It's still sealed. I will show you exactly what is inside, and as soon as it gets dark outside, of course, I will be testing it out. Let's see. You get some basic instructions. Put on the tripod, press the button, go into the app. And then we get, this is just a cover, manual, a foam thingy. Ooh, it is smaller than I remembered. It is tiny. So we have the telescope, and there is a box of accessories, a USB-C cable, a solar filter, and the world's tiniest tripod. I was expecting for like a carrier case to be included because it was included with the S50, and also according to the pre-order website there is a suitcase. It could be that I didn't get it because this is a pre-production testing model that ZWO sent to me. It is tiny, I love it. I will install the world's tiniest tripod to get the world's tiniest telescope. It has foils on it. This is easily the most satisfying thing of every new piece of equipment. It is very shiny. I have another phone. I will turn it on. So the first time you power it on, that's why they have the instructions on there. You have to short press it and then long press it, and then from the following point on, you don't have to do that anymore. Opening up the SeeStar app. So it's giving me instructions on how to activate it. Press the reset button at the bottom of SeeStar body to confirm the connection. The reset button is this one. Press that, activated, and we're ready. I clicked on open arm. I will be removing this, and it is ready. Ever since the S30 has been announced, I see or hear people asking, why on earth would I get the smaller, cheaper S30 if I already have the larger, more expensive S50? And the answer is quite simple. It is the same reason for which people who use traditional telescopes and maybe already have a large 20-25 centimeter Newtonian still opt to buy also a small refractor, and that is the field of view as well as portability. It's the same thing here. In addition to a larger field of view and the extra wide-angle lens that you have, you also have the benefit of a better sensor, or at least it's a sensor that is more modern on paper, the IMX662 versus the one that is in the SeeStar S50. I think tonight when I do my testing, I will just shoot the same exact target with both the S50 and the S30. That's the difference in form factor and portability. It is significantly smaller. It is more portable. This was already very small and portable and light, but this thing weighs 1.65 kilograms. That is practically weightless, which means you can always throw it in your bag. If you're traveling, you can throw it in your backpack and you can just take it anywhere, and I think that's the main selling point of this telescope. That said, since there is such a large interest in people understanding what's the benefit of this one over this one, I don't think it's a matter of which one is better. I think it's a matter of preference and the type of targets and the type of photography that you want to do. So I think that's what I will do tonight. I will not only try out the S30 for deep sky, but I will be shooting the same exact target at the same time with the S50, so that we can get a better understanding and compare the results of the two. I will do that as soon as it gets dark, but it is currently 4 p.m., which means it's still light outside, so I still have a little bit of time to try out the wide-angle lens on the scenery mode, so let's go and do that. We're outside, let's test scenery mode. The tiny tripod is certainly not an advantage for scenery mode if you are anywhere where there is anything like a fence, or in my case these rails and the glass blocking the horizon. It has a standard tripod interface, so I could put it on a taller tripod, but I like to live dangerously, and therefore I'm just placing it as is on my pier. Let's see the scenery mode. The wide-angle camera is in a landscape orientation, and the telephoto camera is in portrait orientation as it was on the S50. The wide-angle camera makes it ridiculously easy to find any target with your telephoto lens. For example, there is a church on top of the mountain there. It would be very, very difficult to find it with just a telephoto lens without any sort of help to help me orient, but I can just locate where the church is. And it's not a church, it's just a house. I don't know why I thought it was a church. To check something that is further away, there is that mountain there with a large antenna on top, and I can also try to locate that. I rotate the telescope. I can autofocus. That was ridiculously fast, and I can take a picture. Now, something that is super interesting is it has a target tracking feature. I think that is primarily for wildlife, but there's not a lot of wildlife here, so I think I will try to find like a car or a bus in the distance and see if it works on those. And I will track that yellow car. I can't believe it, it is actually working. I'm not going to point it at anything closer to here, which would probably be easier to do because I don't want to show people's faces or license plates. That is creepy. The other thing we can do is a time lapse, and for that I'm going to point it at the mountains to the north. It's like northeast. I will autofocus again, and let me just move this so I can show you where we're looking at. We're pointing at that region there. It is remarkably sharp. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to record a video within the SeeStar so that afterwards we can see how the quality is when it comes out. There's a plane in the sky, which means that is the prime target. How do I even find the plane that is moving? Okay, there it is. Okay, it's about to go in the middle. I will go to where the plane is going towards, and then I will wait until the plane reaches my field of view. I managed to track it. I think I managed to track it. It's tracking the plane. That is actually incredible. Keep in mind that the atmosphere is not super transparent, so I cannot see the plane anymore, like at all. But this is still keeping up with it. And then we're gonna lose the target as soon as it goes behind those faraway trees. That was actually really awesome. The first time I tried it on those like cars, I definitely didn't expect it to work so well. And I thought, okay, this is cool for wildlife, but there's so many people out there trying to spot planes and take pictures of them. This just makes it infinitely easier. You can take a video of a plane and then you can stack it like if you were doing planetary photography, and you can get a very sharp image of a plane. I'm very impressed, as you can tell. Back to the time lapse. I will try to do the time lapse on this view. I will do a focus one more time and get back to my time lapse. It is nighttime. I'm out here with both SeeStars. I have initialized and started both of them because I only have a few hours before the clouds are supposed to roll in. It is already not ideal. There's a lot of humidity in the air, and there is a 97% full moon. However, I took the opportunity to take a picture of the moon earlier with the S30. I took a raw video, and then I will process it on the computer and see what it can do on the moon. I have both of them connected to a power bank. The reason I chose the Heart Nebula is because, first of all, it is quite high up. It is a narrowband target, so I can use the built-in dual band filter on both of them, so I stand a chance of taking an image even with the full moon. Third, because it is quite large, so it gives us a very good idea of the difference between the field of view of both telescopes. In case you're wondering how to use two SeeStars at the same time, of course you can use two tablets or two phones, but it's not that necessary. You can also switch the Wi-Fi of your phone, and then when you go back to the SeeStar app, it automatically switches which one it's connected to. Okay, I'm done imaging. Let's have a look at the results. When I said that the sky was not ideal, that was the understatement of the year. It was actually horrible. I was imaging the Heart Nebula for about 3 hours with both telescopes, and what came out is truly horrendous, mostly because there were no clouds, but it was foggy and there was so much humidity in the air, like I could barely see any stars with the naked eye. So that's when I decided to just bring them in. Then in an interesting turn of events, at around midnight, it cleared up. It was still not clear, but it was a lot better. So I set the telescopes back outside again. I started them up and I did 75 minutes on the Orion Nebula with both telescopes. I can show you one of the non-raw videos that I took of the moon, and then I can show you what I was able to get out of processing the raw footage of the moon. And then finally we get to the most important part, which is having a look at the deep sky capabilities. Let's start with the Heart Nebula. So on the left-hand side, we have the SeeStar S30, and on the right-hand side, we have the SeeStar S50. You can just appreciate that the field of view is different, but you see that this part, these two triangles that we have due to field rotation, it is rendered so much worse by the fact that the sky was essentially white from humidity. In any case, I tried to process it to see what is possible to get out of it. This is the processed version of the S30 Heart, and then the processed version of the S50 Heart. I pretty much only did this so you could see better where the field of view lies within that area. And I also registered them on top of one another, so if I blink them, you can appreciate that the field of view of the S30 is approximately 4 times as big as the one of the SeeStar. So the native field of view of the SeeStar S30 is approximately equivalent to the maximum you're able to get with a mosaic on the S50. Let's have a look at the Orion Nebula. What we have here on the left, we have the image as it came out of the SeeStar S30, and on the right as it came out of the S50. It is so much better than what we had for the Heart Nebula, so I was already much happier. So I think it's better if I use these pictures to kind of analyze the performance of the telescope. If I enlarge both of them to 100% resolution. Here, the S30 looks a bit noisier compared to the S50, but I think that is simply because we captured more of the fainter regions, because if I go out here in this region on the S50, it is just about as noisy, it's just less stretched. Whereas if I focus on the bright parts, they look very similar in terms of signal to noise ratio. The stars look okay in the center, but I did see earlier that if I go to the corners, they are not quite perfect on the S30. However, it could be due to tracking or imperfect stacking, because I only ever see it there. On the S50, it is about the same. And then I took these images and I also tried to process them. And once again, on the left-hand side, we have the S30, and on the right, the S50. It is apparent that on the S30, we get the entire Running Man Nebula, whereas here on the S50, it is a bit cut off. And of course, if I invested more than the 75 minutes that I did for the sake of this test, you could see more of the dust regions here than here, because simply they're just cut off because of the different field of view. And once again, I also registered one image on top of the other. If I blink them, once again, you see that the field of view is like this. That is pretty much what I wanted to test here as a first trial. I do have some other things in mind that I want to do with the S30 to try out. And now for the question, should you buy the S30 if you already have the S50? If you like the larger field of view and you want to image like that, I think the answer is yes, because I mentioned that the native field of view of the S30 is approximately equivalent to the maximum mosaic field of view of the S50. However, if you're doing a mosaic of 4 times as large of a region, you are only spending a quarter of that time imaging. So you're still going to lose a lot of time if you want to do the mosaic like that, unless you want to resample afterwards. The other point is the examples we saw here of the Orion Nebula and Running Man and of the Heart Nebula. You saw that even with the S30, they were not entirely in the field of view, but you can still do a mosaic with it. So if you are a fan of really large fields of view, I think the S30 is a good option. However, if your main interest is smaller targets, galaxies, or better quality shots of the sun and the moon, then the S50 will perform better and you have zero benefit getting a smaller telescope. I have to admit, for me, the most fun part of this entire testing process was when I was playing with the S30 during the day, like when I was tracking that airplane or trying to find places with the wide angle view and then zooming in on it with the telephoto lens and trying to see. And I think there's a lot of potential there. Given the fact that the instrument is so small and so lightweight and quite reasonably priced, I think already with that stuff that it gives you for the daytime, it is worth it if you like doing those kinds of things. And as a very important extra, you can also do astrophotography with it. This is the way I see it. I think this instrument is more versatile and is not so much focused only on electronically assisted astronomy, on astrophotography, but also on other types of uses. That said, I hope that you enjoyed this test and review at least as much as I did, and that the comparison between the two was useful in understanding how they relate to one another or how they could complement one another. If you have questions or any comments related to the S30, let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, clear skies.